everyone, and welcome back. Today, I want to dive into a pretty significant topic that's been on my mind a lot lately: the urgency of supporting our transgender community. More specifically, I want to talk about the importance of visibility and activism for transgender individuals. It seems like we haven't seen a lot of demonstrations or movements happening recently, and that definitely raises some concerns. Because in recent developments, the Trump administration has taken several controversial steps that significantly impact the rights and recognition of transgender individuals. From executive orders to policy changes, these actions underscore a marked shift in how the government approaches issues related to gender identity and expression. Let's explore some of the key measures announced by President Trump and their implications for transgender and non-binary individuals. Starting on his first day back in office, President Trump's administration made it clear it would adopt a markedly different stance on transgender rights compared to previous administrations. One of the most impactful executive orders asserts that the federal government will recognize only two genders, male and female. This statement challenges the existence of non-binary identities and asserts a binary understanding of genders as solely linked to biological sex. The order has been justified as a means to protect women, but critics argue that it undermines the dignity and safety of transgender individuals. The immediate effect of this order can be seen throughout various federal agencies as they swiftly implemented changes to align with the new definition of gender. For example, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission announced it would no longer recognize pronouns in employees' profiles, nor allow the use of an X-gender marker on discrimination complaints. This action has raised concern among advocates who argue that it erases the experiences of transgender people who do not fit neatly into the traditional male or female categories. Our non-binary brothers and sisters, y'all. Moreover, the order has led to significant updates on government websites, where, with references to gender ideology removed, the administration's stance aligns with a belief advocated by some that gender should be understood strictly in biological terms, disregarding expert opinions that recognize gender as a spectrum. Another notable change involved passport applications. Under the new executive guidelines, the State Department has discontinued the practice of issuing passports with gender markers that do not conform to the male-female binary. Particularly noteworthy is removal of the option for X marker, which many individuals who identify as non-binary had previously requested. This policy shift may lead to legal challenges, with organizations like the ACLU contemplating lawsuits to protect the rights of transgender individuals seeking accurate representation in their identification. In a further expansion of policy changes, the administration's orders include provisions that would require transgender women in federal custody to be placed in men's prisons, which raises significant concerns regarding the safety and well-being of incarcerated transgender individuals. Reports have already surfaced indicating that some transgender women have been transferred to male facilities, sparking responses from legal advocates. There are ongoing legal battles as court decisions seek to balance these new policies with existing protections for transgender individuals. The military, sadly, is another area where the Trump administration has signaled the intent to restrict transgender rights. An executive order has set the groundwork for renewing a ban on transgender individuals serving in the armed forces. Positioning such identities are incompatible with military values. Previous efforts to enforce a ban was halted by federal courts, indicating public and judicial pushback against discrimination in military services. Now, in the realm of healthcare, President Trump's administration has also moved to restrict access to gender-affirming medical care for minors, which includes puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgeries. If enacted, these policies would eliminate federal funding for necessary medical services and thereby limit access for youth seeking support in their gender transition. This has already caused hospitals to pause certain treatment for minors while they review compliance with new orders. Additionally, schools are facing restrictions related to how they support transgender students. A recent executive order aims to stop what is termed radical indoctrination by prohibiting the use of federal funds to assist students' ongoing social transitions. This includes preventing school staff from using names and pronouns that correspond to a student's gender identity, particularly if they differ from the sex assigned at birth. Such measures have been criticized as being insensitive and harmful, particularly for students navigating their identity in an educational environment. And for me, this ticks me off because everybody's screaming about the safety and no surgeries. Using a name and pronoun is not harmful to anybody. There's no medicine or anything else going on. It's social transitioning. Sorry, that one really burns my ass. Overall, these actions reflect a broader trend of challenging established norms regarding gender identity and expression. The implications of these executive orders are profound and multifaceted, impacting various areas of life for transgender and non-binary individuals across the United States. Supporters of these measures argue they are based on biological realities, while advocates for transgender rights highlights the importance of recognizing the complexity of gender identity and the potential harm caused by restrictive policies. Now, this one really kind of touches home for me a little bit. Some people in society have reacted with skepticism to transgender issues, raising concerns about transgender individuals participating in sports. For instance, on February 5th, 2025, President Trump implemented an executive order that seeks to prohibit transgender women and girls from participating in women's sports and using women's locker rooms. At first glance, the wording of the order refers specifically to men, but it's clear the focus is on transgender girls and women. The implications of this order stretch across educational institutions and professional sports. So let's take a closer look at the scope of the executive order, shall we? Essentially, bans on transgender athletes typically mean that transgender girls and women are prevented from playing on teams that correspond with their gender identity. This could exclude them based on sex assigned to them at birth, which stigmatizes their identity and undermines their right to compete. The order directs action towards schools, specifically K through 12, and collegiate levels and professional athletic organizations alike. Regarding school sports, the order posits that many educational institutes have allowed men to compete in women's sports. It instructs the Secretary of Education to make necessary measures to prevent women-only athletic opportunities and spaces. It suggests that women's sports should be designated solely for cisgender participants. Implications may involve changing interperceptions of Title IX, which aims to prevent gender discrimination in federally funded educational activities. These enforcement actions could threaten funding to schools that don't comply, a strategy rarely executed by previous administrations. When considering professional sports, the executive order urges sports associations to adopt restrictions against transgender girls and women. It calls on various executive leaders to encourage these organizations to exclude transgender participants and reevaluate the rules set forth by the International Olympics Committee. Yes, the International Olympics Committee. Yes, there are rules already set by them regarding transgender competitors. This particularly is pertinent with the upcoming Olympics Summer Games set to take place in Los Angeles just in the near future, 2028, where these policies could have a direct impact on the athlete's career. While the number of transgender athletes affected by this order may initially seem significant, it's critical to understand the context. Though Estimates suggest that approximately 1.6 million transgender individuals reside in the United States, encompassing over 300,000 youths aged 13 to 17. Most do not engage in competitive sports, nor do they identify strictly as women. In fact, reports have highlighted a stark reality. As of 2023, only five transgender athletes were known to be participating in K-12 through K through 12 sports nationwide. 5. This overwhelming focus on limiting and banning transgender individuals from participating in sports appears disappropriate when considering the actual number of athletes involved. In interview, experts and advocates have pointed out that these legislative efforts target a minuscule fraction of the student population, raising questions about the motives behind these policies. There have been claims that transgender athletes hold unfair advantages in sports, but various studies show otherwise. Athletic performance varies widely among all athletes, regardless of gender identity, and relying on misconceptions about transgender individuals contributes to discrimination. Furthermore, transgender athletes face a myriad of challenges, including harassment and exclusion from supportive environments, which further removes the notion that they hold any inherent competitive edge. Understanding that trans girls are indeed girls is a critical aspect of this conversation. The insistence on defining gender strictly based on the assigned sex at birth does not reflect the complexities of gender identity and the personal realities of those involved. Numerous medical professionals argue that excluding trans athletes disrupts their emotional and physical well-being, meaning it's hurting them. Trans athletes have the same right to participate in sports as everyone else. Limiting their participation not only harms them, but undermines the core values of equality and fairness. As these developments unfold, they serve as a reminder of the ongoing debates related to gender identity and the role of the government in regulating personal freedoms. Public discourse surrounding these issues continue to evolve, emphasizing the need for dialogue and advocacy to ensure the rights and dignity of all individuals are respected and upheld. It's easy to think that when there is less visibility surrounding a cause, it's losing momentum or fading from public consciousness. This line of thinking can be dangerous, especially for marginalized groups like transgender individuals. A lack of action can create the misleading impression that these voices and issues are becoming less relevant or less urgent. Hence, this is where the involvement of parents and allies become incredibly important. When parents of transgender children do not express their support and pride, it can unintentionally signal that transgender lives are less important. If those closest to the transgender community, like family members and friends, do not step up and advocate for them, who will? It is essential for all of us to convey that loving and supporting transgender individuals must be a priority. When parents publicly share statements like, "I'm proud of my transgender child," it can inspire others to voice their support as well. This ripple effect strengthens the community and brings more visibility to the issues at hand. Personally speaking, I have two beautiful daughters. One is cisgender and the other is transgender. As a parent, I wholeheartedly believe both deserve equal rights, love, and respect. Every child, regardless of their gender identity, should be treated with dignity. As parents, it's our responsibility to demand this treatment, not just in our homes, but in public discussion as well. See, from my perspective, the fight for transgender rights is intertwined with how involved parents become in leadership roles on these issues. Our responsibilities extend beyond our immediate families. If we want to create an inclusive world where transgender children can flourish, we need to collectively advocate for them. This can manifest in numerous forms, from attending rallies and community events to having discussions in our neighborhoods. These conversations are crucial since there is still a significant lack of understanding about transgender issues among many, many people. Education plays a key role in changing perceptions. By sharing our stories and imparting knowledge about the realities faced by transgender individuals, we can cultivate a culture built on acceptance and understanding. Let's all imagine a society where being transgender is as accepted as being cisgender, where differences are embraced rather than stigmatized. This ideal can begin with us in our everyday lives. Each of us has our own social networks, and even a few informed voices can make a huge impact. The possibilities are vast. If every supportive parent were to vocalize their pride and support, countless lives could be positively influenced. We must maintain momentum in this movement. If we fall silent for too long, the issues affecting our transgender family members and friends may fade into the background. In a society that often highlights the loudest voices, those of us who care deeply about these issues need to amplify the voices that truly matter. Although discussing these topics may feel awkward or uncomfortable at times, such discomfort can pave the way for meaningful change. Real change isn't achieved in isolation. It requires action, dialogue, and community support. We need to be candid. It is our duty to step up for not only our loved ones, but for all transgender individuals who might lack a support system. Encouraging visibility for transgender individuals across all sectors of society is vital, whether in politics, media, or local communities. We are all part of this collective effort, and together we can create a powerful force for change. This advocacy begins at home, with parents and allies fostering environments where all children, including transgender children, know they are supported, valued, and deserving of respect. Let's be those cheering, loud, proud voices. Let's be the proud parents and the steadfast allies, vocal in our commitment to say, we stand with you, we support you, and we will advocate for your rights. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's so important that we keep this dialogue going and to champion for change. It is important. It is fundamental, and it's imperative that those of us that love and support the transgender community amplify our voices and raise up. Our transgender friends and family are counting on us. Till next time, please live your life out loud.
Life doesn't always allow us to laugh out loud, but we always have the choice to live our lives out loud. So until next time, don't forget to LOL, live out loud.